Good morning. It's time to get in touch. In Touch is a public affairs show dedicated to improving the lives of Susquehanna Valley residents. I'm Freddi Hammer, news director at Backyard Broadcasting. As I prepared the program this week, I mentioned to a few people that I would be airing the next In Touch show about how Williamsport is one of hundreds of fresh air towns and welcomes New York City children each summer to experience life in North Central PA. And a few said, I was a fresh air kid, or we hosted children a number of years ago. Well, if that's you, maybe this program today will inspire you to reconnect with fresh air or connect you for the first time. You will for sure see what an incredible experience it can be for everyone. We're able to connect today with Shawna Bartholomew. She's a volunteer leader with the Fresh Air Fund who has lots of experiences with fresh air. Hello to you, Shawna.
Good morning.
It's so wonderful to meet you today and talk about your history with the Fresh Air Fund and everything that goes on here in the Williamsport and Lycoming County area. Tell me a little bit about your history with the Fresh Air Fund. It's a big history, isn't it?
It is a big history.
You've been doing this for a long time.
I have been doing it for a long time, and it just blew by. So it's funny to say it's been 21 years since I first hosted.
Oh my gosh.
Which seems incredible to me even. So I grew up in foster homes and had always said one day I wanted to do foster care or adopt, something to that in that order.
Sure.
And my husband was going, no, it's not going to happen. And one day I'm a stay-at-home mom and I pick up the Sun Gazette and it says, be a fresh air family. And I'm like, what's this? So I read up on it and it's 1 week in the summertime. Husband can't argue with that, can he?
Exactly.
That's like baby steps. So I just said, hey, honey, I have something I want to do. Just say yes. We're going to run with this. And explain to him when he got home from work what the fresh air was about. I got more info on it, and basically that's it. You apply as a host family. They match you up with a child. You pick whether you want a boy or a girl. You pick the age range, which I believe is now 7 to 13.
Okay.
At the time, it was, I think, 5.
Okay.
So they were kind of little when they came to you.
Sure.
So you pick what you want, and then basically they ask you your likes and what you do as a family, and then they try to match you up with a kid from inner city New York. It has to be from one of the boroughs, and they basically put a puzzle together, and the child comes for 1 week in the summertime. If it is an amazing experience, you can get them back every summer. Some families get the same child back. Some get a new child every year. We've done both. The first child I got, my son was 6 and Patrick was 6, and I had him for 6 years in a row. And after the first time they come, they can even stay longer. So if it's a good match and you want them to stay for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, whatever the bus schedule allows, you can have the child stay the following year. So he was here for 6 years and then he moved to Florida. So we started over at 12. 12 is an interesting age because that's the last year that they used to be able to participate.
Okay.
So if a child is not in the program by the age of 12, then they cannot enter the program.
I see.
So I'm like, okay, my son's 12. I'll get a 12-year-old. Well, he's 27 now and he's still mine.
Oh, that is
so
wonderful.
We have had him during summer, off summer. He was with us through college. He's like one of my boys now.
Sure.
And in between, I've had several more. They may have been one and done, and they were great kids, but we just didn't have that connection. So we got to know them a little bit, and I still keep in touch with some of them.
Sure.
And others have been with us, like I said, for
27
almost 20 years. Yeah. So they became mine. So it's just a wonderful way. And I always felt that I definitely got more from the program than I gave. And I've heard differently now because I've come full circle with the program.
As far as being a host family and now being a volunteer for the group.
Being a volunteer. I've done conferences in the city. I've got to get the kids, oh my gosh, going to New York City and seeing the excitement of these little kids when they're getting ready to go to friendly towns.
Oh, how cute.
And the apprehension of the parents who are allowing them to go to these strange towns with these strange families is a very cool thing to experience. And the excitement, and they think you're taking all of them, and they'll go, am I staying with you? Do I get to go? And you have chaperones on the buses, so you get to know the kids on the way from the trip, from the city, the 4.5 hours on the bus.
I bet kids that have already done the program are such mentors for other kids. They're like, what's going to happen to me?
They are. And when the kids come, we have kids that stay with all kinds of families. We have kids that stay in the Amish communities.
Okay.
And they come every year and they stay with these Amish families. And you think the difference of the worlds, and when you
living
find this
near
is happening,
42nd Street, or maybe coming to Lycoming County for a farm.
Yes.
With no electricity.
Yep. And they do it and they love it. And I've talked to those kids, and they just said it's a neat experience, and of being able to see different kinds of the worlds that, we live in, and meeting people that you would never have met otherwise.
The kids, they come from the Brooklyn area, one of the boroughs
of
New York City.
Mm-hmm.
And so Tell me a little bit about what a first-time child here experiences. Is it do they have fear? Are they just so excited? It's really kind of up to the volunteers for what is going to be happening. Is that true?
So when they come, you get to ask all those questions. You have to tell them if you have animals. So some kids are afraid of dogs. So if you have dogs, you list that so you don't get a child who is terrified when they get to your house to find out you have dogs. So those are the questions they ask you. Do you have pets? What do you like to do? Biking, swimming, hiking, fishing, camping, and they really want you to do those kinds of things.
The outdoors things.
Yep. It's not about financial, what you can afford to do, take them to fancy places or, amusement parks and everything. If you can, that's great. They enjoy that too. But those are questions they ask you also, if that's things you do. And they just really want them to get a breath of fresh air and see how other people live and, keep it simple. And, the kids love that. You see these pictures every year. They have a photo contest and you submit your photos from the summertime. And just the kids in the swimming pools, you figure these kids, most of them live in apartment buildings.
Okay.
And the first time one of the kids came to my house, we had a swing set in the backyard. And they're like, you have a park in your backyard, because they just think it's incredible because they have to go to the park.
Right.
They can't just walk out their back door like we do.
They might
here.
have to take the subway to go to the park.
Yes. So to be able to walk out and see the swing set in the backyard was just something incredible that was shocking to these children.
Is it emotional for some kids?
It is. It's emotional for the host families.
Sure, I'm sure that's true.
So yeah, I've had a few that, the thing is the city is very supportive. If a child comes and they get homesick and they want to go home, they can go home.
Right.
If you have a child, and let me tell you, I have 4 of my own. Kids come in all shapes, sizes, and they are brats. And if you get a child and that's one of the fears of people wanting to host is what if I get a child and they're a terror?
Right.
And
we don't like each other.
Yeah, they're trashing my house and they're disrespectful or something's going wrong. You contact the host, the city, they will come pick the child up. Or you contact the volunteer of the area, which would be me, and I will come get the child.
I'm sure that is a rare occurrence, but it's available.
It is very rare. I think I've had, oh my gosh, I don't even know. I should find out. Maybe 15, 20 children that I've hosted. I think I bawled sending every one of them back, except maybe one little girl. And, I take them to the bus stop, and you only know them for a week, but if there's a connection, you dread sending them home. And I'm a ball baby to begin with. But, you fall in love with these little faces and you're not going to see them for another year, if ever. And, you take them home. And I think there was one time I took a little girl back and I didn't send her back early. We got through the week. Okay. It was a long week and it was as much my daughter's fault as it was hers, but they just clashed. It happens. And that's the amazing thing. One and done or one for 20 years. That is your choice and it's their choice. And every year they ask you again, do you want the same child? Do you want a different child? And nobody ever has to know why. But like I said, we've had the other end where I've had the same child and he's still mine and he's 27. He went through the Army, through college, and he was with me every step of the way. And he's like one of my boys. So, and I loved the connection with my children also because you are bringing a child in and that's always difficult too. You don't know how they're going to get along. And I think, with that little girl with my daughter, she's like, Mommy, I don't want to do fresh air anymore. And I'm like, but it's not your choice. It's my choice. And I want to do fresh air. So it's okay. You don't have to. And I won't maybe get another little girl. I'll get a little boy. And it worked out perfect. Now I have the same daughter who doesn't want to do fresh air. And I always taught her, I'm like, what if we didn't do fresh air and Richard is like a brother to her? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, we wouldn't have Richard if we and then she thinks about it and she's like, you're right, Mom.
It's a good service.
Yes. And she's learned a lot. They all have learned a lot from it. And we just had this whole other part of our family now. And he lives in New Jersey and, he'll come home for, Christmas or holidays or, just whatever important occasion we have. He's here and the one I started with originally lives in Texas now. He's got a little girl and he'll reach out to me on Facebook,
so neat.
And it is. And
it's a building of a family that you didn't realize you could have.
Yes. And he'll say to me, you were one of my own moms when I was little, and I just love it. And I miss him to death, but I love that he felt that way.
What if a family's listening right now and they want to have this experience? What's the first thing to do?
Go to the website.
Okay.
And
freshair.org.
Yeah. And there's a link now that you can even put on there and submit your information and have someone reach out to you to contact you. I'm always here if anybody ever wanted to talk. I love what Fresh Air has meant to me and my family, and I'm always willing to share stories.
You could probably use a hand or two in the area to be a volunteer here and there.
Always. We're always looking for volunteers.
Are there fundraising opportunities? Because this is a free service for the kids and the funding needs to happen.
A lot of the fundraisers are in the city.
Okay.
The big ones. We have done fundraisers here in the past. we've done like Sweet Frog. It's not really to get a whole lot of money. Sometimes, I took the money and used it to, when the kids came off the bus, we had like a little picnic at the park, and we got Rita's Ice and, Sweet Frog ice cream. And, we kind of had like a little get together for the families to get to know each other.
But that's it's not a grassroots funding to make the program run. It's more of a support funding.
Yes. And that was just local. So yeah, the volunteers that we're looking for here is to get the word out, PR, phone calls, reference checks, the assistants in doing interviews, things like that. Chaperones for the bus. Each friendly town has to have 2 chaperones to take the bus to the city, and then to bring the kids back, you have to do the same thing. So those are the volunteers that we look for in our area.
How many cities are friendly towns?
Oh my gosh.
Across the United States and Canada?
Not across the United States. It's Eastern.
Just Eastern.
Yes, like 12 or 13 states in Canada.
Nice.
That do this. So yeah, they can. The little guy I had for a couple of years, he'd been to Canada. My Fresh Air son, his wife is from Canada. They met. She was a Fresh Air child. He's a Fresh Air child, and they met, and now they're married. And they were just home visiting her family in Canada, and I got to meet her Fresh Air mom. They FaceTimed me, and we met as Fresh Air families, and it was such a neat thing. So yeah, they can go anywhere, and sometimes that's the purpose. When the child chooses, there are Fresh Air camps also in the city. Yeah, so the children choose, do you want to go to a friendly town, or do you want to go to a camp? And some choose to do both.
Oh, yeah.
And, so they're like, the one little guy's like, I don't think I'm coming back next year. I think I'm going to do camp. I'm like, really? You're just going to just like that? You just don't think you're coming back?
Coming back to the house.
Well, that just punched me in the gut. But then he did come back. So, he was just didn't know what he wanted to do. And they get torn because it is exciting to do the camps also. And we try to do as much as we can. We are baseball family. So when the kids were little, oh my gosh, Richard would come, and he has all of these. We have it's like our baseball circle of families, and he was one of them, and he knew all of them. And, he'd show up wearing his colors for the team and, just cheering them on like everybody else. And when we were growing up, that's what we did. And he loves Knoebels. And oh my gosh, the kid is 27 years old, and he still comes home, and him and I go to Knoebels.
That's awesome.
And whatever kids are around that I have that want to go, but he just, that's his thing. And here, look at Lycoming County. I mean, what we have here, we just have the mountains and the rivers and the stream. I mean, it's just anything you could possibly want to do here. And Knoebels and the Hiawatha, and the Crosscutters. We've done that. I have a video of Pat when he was little, missing his 2 front teeth, belting out the "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" song at the Crosscutters, and running the bases. And there's just so many wonderful memories and things to do around here with the kids. So it's exciting.
I'd also have to say that businesses that may be based in New York City that have affiliates here, something that they might be able to do in New York, raise money, help the Fresh Air Fund, have a shadowing program. I know there's a job shadowing program too for kids.
Yep, a lot of the interns in the summertime, they're all college interns, and it's so exciting, and they're so just you meet them also when you go to pick the kids up at the Port Authority. They just have them all roped off, and they're doing games and coloring, and just such excitement in the interns' faces too. And I think a lot of them end up sticking with the program, and really getting involved with it also as they go.
Well, we want families to be involved and check out the website, which is freshair.org. We can email you as well, Shawna.
Yep. No
That's
problem.
sb4jbart@aol.com, and we'll put that on our screen here for our InTouch program.
Okay.
Freshair.org, so neat. And I just sort of heard about it, and I didn't realize it was continuing. So here it is. Today, you can sign up, bring your family for Fresh Air.
Yes.
Let's keep it going for hundreds more years, I guess.
Yes. So Richard was going in the Army. He's the little guy I have since he was 12. And this is where I say it's come full circle, so I've done them, all. And he says, I'm leaving for the Army. He says, I want to have one big dinner. I want a Thanksgiving dinner. And he said, I want the whole family there, which I don't have a lot of family to begin with. So I'm like, okay. So we had to have this big last dinner. He says, okay. He says, I have something I want to say to you all. You'll have me crying right here, Freddi. But he wrote letters to each of us, one by one, telling us what we all meant to him and what the Fresh Air meant to him. And I think I was completely shocked at knowing or never realizing how this affected them. Like, I knew how it affected me, and I knew I loved it, and I'm passionate about it, and I want to, I want everybody to be a Fresh Air family, but I never thought, and him and I used to talk as he got older, and I'd say, why did you keep coming back? Like, what made you? And he'd ask me, like, why do you have me? Why did you keep having me? And I'd say, what was your favorite thing? Knoebels and Oreo cookies. And he's like, the silence, the quiet. Because it's never quiet in New York City. It's cabs and noise and people and congestion. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. all the money, all the years, all the things we've done together. I didn't have to do any of that with you. You just wanted to come and be quiet, And he's like, yes. And we lived in Cogan Station out in the country a little bit, And he said it was just the peaceful and the quietness that he just loved. And it was so relaxing when he was here. So when he's writing these letters and he broke it down and he's like, what each of my kids meant to him, what my husband meant to him, because he never had a father. And he's, cutting the grass, things like that. And when we realized the impact that we had actually had on him also, that was an eye opener for us. And like I said, we've been doing it 20 years and didn't realize what it had meant to him. So to hear him say it was like really profound. And, I like I said, I get choked up about it when I think about it. And we joke about it.
It is
how emotional that day was.
Absolutely.
My son had brought his girlfriend home, and he now married her. But at the time, it was the first time we had met her, and she came to this big dinner. And we literally had 12 people around the dining room table bawling like babies. My husband, my sons. He felt not he was leaving us, but going into Army and being a man. And,
a transition.
Yes, and he wanted us to know, like, you need to hear this from me. What started out as a week in the summertime, look what it has turned into.
A lifetime of love.
And never would have happened without the fresh air. So you think that, one little week and what it can mean to a child. And he'll say to this day, he could have gone either way. He had family members in gangs. He had, school. And we always said, like, you do well in the city or you don't come. If you get into trouble there, you don't bring it here. And, he knew that. So when he had to make a decision or had to make a choice, he'd be like, ooh, what are the Bartholomew's going to say?
Right.
I got to answer to somebody. And it made him, like I said, I think we helped make him into the man he was. And I feel conceited sometimes when I say that. But I think we truly did have an effect on this kid.
Well, that's what this is about, helping these kids be successful in every area.
And knowing there's people out there. Like, you have more family, you have more connections. And yeah, like I said, I feel conceited sometimes. I'm like, oh, look what you did. And I'm like, I didn't do that. He was a good kid from the start. But I think, somewhere we did. And that was the fresh air and the connections you can make. But like I said, it doesn't have to be that serious. You get a kid for the week and you have some fun with them, take them fishing or whatever, send them back, and that's it.
Shawna Bartholomew, you're a volunteer leader for Fresh Air, and we just want to get local families involved. Check out freshair.org and call you, email you. We'll put those informations on our YouTube channel here on Backyard Broadcasting. Thank you for sharing all that you did about Fresh Air, and good luck to everybody who gets involved this summer.
Yes. Hopefully we have a lot of turnout.
InTouch is locally produced in our studios at 1685 4 Mile Drive in Williamsport. To get in touch with us regarding questions, comments, or topic ideas, call weekdays between 8 and 5, 570-323-8200. You can also write to us at 1685 4 Mile Drive, Williamsport, PA, 17701, attention Freddie Hammer, or email me at fhammer@backyardbroadcasting.com. For archived programs of our InTouch series, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Backyard Broadcasting. Each current weekly program is featured on the Backyard Broadcasting websites. Thanks for listening to InTouch, a production of Backyard Broadcasting.